What is going on, Wastelanders? It is me, the Lone Vault Wanderer, here with my Fallout 4 E3 gameplay summary video. Essentially, the point of this video is to sum up the main points that I saw that came out of the Fallout 4 gameplay, which was shown at Bethesda's very first E3 conference. So if there's anything I missed, please put those thoughts in the comments below. I would really appreciate it. So anyway, starting off, obviously Todd Howard comes out and introduces the Fallout 4 segment. We had Bethesda talk about Doom, we had them talk about Dishonored 2, but now the game that most people were waiting for, Fallout 4, is finally ready to be shown. The segment started off with depiction of various concept arts and other art pieces which essentially showed Fallout 4's world in its concept stage and also of characters in the game, many of which seem new and refreshing in my personal opinion. Next, we actually start to see gameplay which shows the world that existed before the bombs fell, i.e. the pre-Great War. And Todd Howard tells us that this is where Fallout 4 starts. We start before the Great War, before the bombs fell, and we get to experience this world while everything is not necessarily in tranquility, because there are reports that nuclear bombs will fall down and that is imminent. But at the very least, we get some sort of peaceful serenity before the chaos starts breaking out, so that's nice. The next major bit is that we see the first glimpse of character customization. Yes, you can play as a male or a female, and you can create your character by sculpting parts of your own face in front of the mirror in the bathroom, and I thought that the types of customization options were very varied. There obviously are a lot of them. You can play as different races with just various different facial features, which seems really cool. This is the same system that is actually used to create all the faces of the NPCs in the game, so it seems that every NPC is going to have a somewhat unique face. And something cool as well, the baby in the game, which is of course the baby of the mother and the father, is actually an amalgamation, if you will, of the mother's features and the father's features, which I thought was really nice. Then you see the protagonist walk around the house, you see some Nuka-Cola, you see some sugar bombs, then a Vault-Tec representative approaches the protagonist's house, he knocks on the door, and then this is when we get the first glimpse of not necessarily the protagonist talking. We already knew that, especially in front of the mirror. Both of the protagonists talked, both the mother and the father. But here we actually get the first glimpse of what conversation looks like in Fallout 4. So yes, both characters will speak, but the style is very similar to Witcher. So for example, you'll have the protagonist speak in a cinematic third-person view, and then it'll switch to the other person you're speaking with. And also the dialogue options as well aren't necessarily the full thing that you'll be saying to the character. It's just like a small phrase, and then the protagonist will speak something differently. Some people might not like this whole conversation concept and having a voice protagonist, but I'm going to accept it. It worked in The Witcher, so I think it could work in Fallout 4. Anyways, the Vault-Tec representative tells the protagonist that the family has been accepted in Vault 111 and they've been cleared for entrance. At this point, you're asked to verify information, which is when the special system appears and you're able to actually distribute points to each of the special system attributes. And then the reports come that the nuclear bombs have dropped. Then you have to try and escape to the vault. Unfortunately, because you're playing as the father, the mother and the baby dies. That's the implication from that anyways. And the protagonist turns out to be the sole survivor of Vault 111. Somehow he got lowered into the vault and survived that nuclear blast and emerged 200 years later. My theory is still that you were cryogenically frozen in Vault 111 by the same technology that is used in Vault 112, and that's how you're preserved for 200 years, and then that's when you emerge out of the vault. And then when you finally emerge out of Vault 111, we actually get to see the first glimpse of the post-apocalyptic wasteland, not Fallout 4 in its pre-Great War phase, but actually the ruined wasteland of downtown Boston that was also confirmed in the trailer. Now, Todd Howard said that there was an emphasis on player freedom, as there usually is in the Fallout games. You can go wherever you want, you can do what you want, you have that capacity. Todd also mentions that the game is running on a next generation version of the Creation Engine. The engine features full physical based rendering and dynamic volumetric lighting. Moving on from that, we see more dialogue with the protagonist and Mr. Handy, or Codsworth, I can't remember his name. It shows how the dialogue is very dynamic. You can play in the first person, third person, and walk away from dialogue whenever you please. Then you find your companion dog. No, it's not dog meat, but I'm going to call it dog meat anyways, because why not? You can actually give your dog commands and tell him to go particular places, or tell her to go particular places. You can tell him or her to pick up particular items like a wrench in the distance, which is really, really cool. So I'm assuming that there's going to be some tactics involved when giving your dog commands. And then we finally see that VATS is returning. I am so glad that this is back. It is a favorite with the fans, and for good reason. You can cycle through body parts and targets, and also something that I noticed is that the criticals don't seem to be randomized anymore. You can actually execute criticals. There is an option for that, but that might not be available all the time. It might be dependent on skill. It might be just randomized in that sense, and then you can see when you can execute a critical. Who knows? To me, the gunplay seemed really improved. Note that there are huge changes to the UI. I actually don't really like the user interface. First of all, I think it's really optimized for console, which obviously is understandable, but the UI elements are really, really big, and also they seem kind of goofy in my opinion. I don't know if anyone thought that, but anyways, that's a really small gripe. Again, Todd Howard confirms that the location is in downtown Boston. Various locations in the game were then shown, and then in those scenes we get a glimpse of rain, which indicates that weather effects are going to be in Fallout 4, which is just awesome. Something that was also noticeable to me is that the lighting in the game looks really, really, really good. The revamped engine is really showing. We can see super mutants returning as enemies, but I'll cover more enemies later on in the video. And then we get a new Pip-Boy, which you find when you exit the vault. The Pip-Boy view distance is a bit further away, so you can actually see your hand operate the dials and the knobs on the right side, which I think is really, really cool. It doesn't really take you out of the game with this big Pip-Boy coming right up to your face. The Vault Boy icons in the Pip-Boy and also the weapon icons displayed are animated, which I thought is really nice. It's not just a static image just plopped on there or whatever. The weapon models and the Vault Boy icons actually move, which is really nice. We can see that the special system, as I said, returns. We get a bunch of perks. I made a video about that, but there are no skills coming back in Fallout 4, which is interesting. So it seems that there is just a focus on special and perks. You can of course see the radio option in the Pip-Boy, which hopefully that means GNR and 3Dog and Eric Dogdellums comes back. Fingers crossed. And then we get told by Todd that there is a layered armor system which can be accessed through the Pip-Boy and allows you to change various armor bits on your body. For example, your chest piece, your left arm, your left leg, etc. You can change and customize as you will, which is also something that I mentioned in a previous video. You can also listen to holotapes, which is really, really cool, and there are some game tapes and some games that they showed are Red Menace and Atomic Command, which you can play directly on your Pip-Boy in-game. And then Todd goes on to say that they actually made a real working Pip-Boy, which comes with the collector's edition of the game, which is called Fallout 4 Pip-Boy Edition. Side note, I've already pre-ordered mine and I highly suggest that you do, because this is an actual Pip-Boy. It operates as if it was a Pip-Boy on your wrist, which is just awesome. You can also put your phone in it, but who wants to do that? They made an app for it as well, but the main bit about this Pip-Boy is that it actually works with the game as a second screen experience. So on your local Wi-Fi, whether with the Xbox One, PS4 and PC, this Pip-Boy works with everything. It's like you're using your Pip-Boy as you are in the game, so you can access items, you can equip weapons or armor. It acts exactly like a Pip-Boy would in the game. That's awesome. It is so cool. It's gimmicky like Todd Howard said, but in terms of gimmicks go, this is fucking awesome. And that second screen feature also still works on your smartphone or tablet, on iOS or Android, but get the bloody Pip-Boy. It's so cool. Quickly, Fallout Shelter was introduced as an iOS game where you can make your own vault and you're the overseer controlling everything. Didn't really appeal to me too much because I don't play games on my phone all that often, but if it does appeal to you, there you go, it's there for you to enjoy. Alrighty, now we get into building and crafting in Fallout 4. In Fallout 4, you as the protagonist and the player can actually build. You can build structures, you can build homes, you have to find scrap items in the world, which you then source from materials, and then by using those materials, you can build homes, bases, structures, as I said. So that is awesome, and as Todd said, this is all thanks to the fully dynamic game engine, so you can just literally put structures wherever you please. You can build homes as you want, add furniture, beds, doors, etc. Essentially making your own Fallout 4, which is really nice. This is something that I've really appreciated with player home mods on the Fallout Nexus, whether Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas. They add different player homes, but never have I gotten the opportunity to actually make my own player home because I can't mod Fallout because I don't know how to use the GEX. So this actually allows you to do that, create your own custom base. That's so cool. And also as well, you can build your own settlements. So you can build stores, you can plant food, water, and power generators, which this part is so cool. So you have generators which actually power lights, power turrets, but also as well they power terminals, which when hooked to the power grid can actually control the various items of the various machines that are actually hooked to the power grid. And the best example of that were the colored lights, which were actually consolidated together to make a Vault Boy, and then you had flames coming out of the side. And also bear in mind that this is an optional part of the game. You don't have to do this. I'm going to try it out, but I'm not going to spend too many hours making my own settlement because I want to play the rest of the game. And you also have to defend your settlement from incoming raiders with the turrets you've built. And crafting weapons comes back in a big way, whereas in New Vegas they kind of introduced weapon mods. In Fallout 4 there is so much you can do with it. Now first of all, to build the various weapon modifications to use on certain weapons, you actually have to source items from the game. So Todd brought up the example of building a scope, and you needed adhesive, glass, screws, and steel, but each of those ingredients can actually be sourced via different items. So for example, the steel aspect of the scope can either be a toaster or a wrench. So all of those random items that you find in Fallout 4 or even in past Fallout games that seemingly had no purpose other than for the rocket launcher, now they actually have a purpose. You can make weapon modifications with it, so you're going to have to bear in mind what modifications you want to create as you're walking through the wasteland and picking up items. And Todd said that there were 50 base weapons and 700 modifications for those weapons, and he cycles through a number of customized weapons. You can see a long laser pistol, you can see a scattered and focused rifles, pipe rifles, assault rifles, plasma throwers. I'm not going to describe them all, but they really go through and show you how customizable your weapons can actually be in Fallout 4, which is awesome. And then they quickly cut to the segment, again as I alluded to before, you can modify your power armor, the helmet, left leg, right arm, torso, etc. You can source those different armor pieces from various armors in the game. So for example, I could have an Enclave shoulder brace, a Brotherhood of Steel chest plate, and then also another power armor as a helmet. And one of the last major bits Todd mentioned was that they've really focused on making the combat feel great, whether you're in the first person, third person, or also using VATS, which I'm definitely going to be using VATS, don't get me wrong. You can see the blood effects and the body parts that are flying off. They look really cool. They actually look like some of the blood mods that I have in Fallout New Vegas, where the blood just splatters everywhere. It is absolutely awesome. Just my personal opinion, the gunplay looks vastly improved. Everything looks smoother, more controlled. It's not like clunky and awkward like Fallout 3 and New Vegas are. And then we see some returning enemies and some new enemies. So out of the returning enemies, we have Raiders, Deathclaws, Yaoguais, Sentry Bots, Behemoths, Mirelurks, Super Mutants, Protectrons, and Ghouls. Out of the new enemies, I saw a Blood Bug, I saw a Synth Assaulter, a Synth Strider, and I've mentioned Blood Bug again because I'm an idiot. But another thing that I noticed about the enemies in particular is that there seems to be a lot of different types of certain types of enemies. So what I mean by that is that there are raiders, but then there are raider bosses, raider veterans, raider psychos, etc. And for the super mutants, there are super mutants, there are super mutant skirmishers, super mutant brutes, etc. So it seems like, as opposed to Fallout 3 New Vegas, each type of enemy has a lot of different subcategories within that type of enemy. So I think that's really cool. We get to see some enemy variety. Hopefully we see some new enemies, because I did see a lot of older enemies that we saw in past Fallout games. I think I mentioned rad scorpions. If I didn't, I should have. Another major piece that I saw in the gameplay is that you can throw a grenade to signal Codsworth, I believe is Mr. Handy, to bring a vertibird for you to shoot a minigun from the vertibird with your dog just hanging as a companion. That is so cool. You can actually fly in a vertibird and shoot enemies with a minigun. This is awesome. We actually have vehicles. This is something that some people have wanted, not necessarily cars maybe, but just some sort of vehicle, maybe a motorcycle, but a fucking vertibird where you can shoot a minigun from the side. That's fucking awesome. Also as well, we get jetpacks. Jetpacks in Fallout 4. When I saw that, I actually lost my mind. And the final scene, I want to note that it seems like you can blow up a town just like you did with Megaton in Fallout 3. And finally, to end this video, we get the Fallout 4 release date, which is 10th November 2015. It is so soon. It's literally like 5 months away. Hold up. July, August, September, October, November. Yep, 5 months away. I'm so tired right now. the game is coming out really soon, guys. This is awesome. Get to pre-ordering your copies, particularly of the collector's edition if you want the collector's edition. But guys, this game looks awesome. I'm going to be making more videos throughout the week, but they're going to be smaller videos that focus on particular aspects of the gameplay and of the topics that I mentioned in this video. So, oh my god, I'm out of breath. So anyways, Wastelanders, until then, this has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please take care of yourself, and as always, keep fighting the good fight.